With Formula 1 pre-season testing over almost as quickly as it started, working out how the teams stack up is harder than ever. Drivers and senior management are notoriously cautious when it comes to predicting their car's performance versus the others, and a reduced schedule of only 3 days in Bahrain has compounded that in 2021. But those of you familiar with our channel know we don't shy away from a challenge at the race. Headline lap times can be a colossal red herring in testing, so don't expect the leaderboard to be an accurate reflection of where each team stands. So we've looked beyond those lap times, factored in the longer run work teams have carried out, accounted for a few key variables like tyre offset, suspected fuel loads and engine modes, and thrown in a dash of trackside observation as well. It's worth stressing early, this is a snapshot of this moment in time. But with all the usual caveats that come with such an exercise, here's our ranking. As expected, the Haas was the slowest car during the 3 days of testing, with Nikita Mazepin and Mick Schumacher building up their mileage. The VF21 has changed since last year, but it is the gentlest evolution of any on the grid. Things didn't start well with a hydraulic problem forcing a gearbox change on the first morning when Schumacher was behind the wheel. But thereafter, the car ran reliably and racked up 394 laps, the 5th highest tally. Perhaps surprisingly, there were a few development parts on display as testing progressed, but that's likely to be it for new parts, with no in-season development planned. And ultimately, all signs point to this season being the long, hard one of treading water everyone expects, even with a power boost from the Ferrari engine. Williams was the 6th fastest team, courtesy of a lap George Russell said wasn't full quali trim, but didn't have the sandbags on board either. And with the 6th most laps completed, it was a productive test for Williams as well. The main problem came from the windy conditions that were evident throughout the test, given the new car is incredibly wind sensitive. Russell expects that to mean the team's performance yo-yos in 2021, the result of a conscious decision to chase peak downforce even if it means there will be struggles on weekends when it is windy. Beyond that, it was a relatively straightforward test, which is good for Williams as it was the only team to give mileage to a test driver, with Roy Nissany driving on day 1. With some new test items promised for FP1 in Bahrain in just under 2 weeks, there's still more to come. There's no sign of a significant leap forward, but there's confidence that Williams will be restored to the points this season. Alfa Romeo had a driver in the top 6 on all 3 days of testing, and no team racked up more miles than the Sauber run operation. That means every box was ticked and probably a bit more, even if the car isn't as rapid as setting the 4th fastest time suggests. On track, the car looks reasonably well balanced, though it's not blessed with especially high levels of downforce. Raikkonen's best time was set in the final hour using the softest available C5 tyres, with Alfa Romeo's recent history suggesting this was likely on genuinely low fuel. But with reliability seemingly proven, both drivers confident enough behind the wheel, and a flawless final day, Alfa Romeo had good reason to be satisfied with its test. With the aerodynamics working well after spending its development tokens to change the nose, as well as gains from the Ferrari power unit, Alfa Romeo might well have taken a stride towards rejoining the main midfield group. While its bulbous airbox stuck out like a sore thumb, Alpine kept a relatively low profile during testing. It set only the 8th fastest time of the 10 teams, completed the 4th most laps with 396, and only cracked the top 9 in the end of day times once. But there were no major problems, and the ex-Renault team ticked off everything on its to-do list. From trackside, the car looked decent enough, with Fernando Alonso able to commit utterly on turn-in on push laps. So while the pace of the car is still in the midfield, Alpine does have something to build on. It offered nothing stunning, but ended the test in reasonable shape and well prepared. Ferrari has reason to be encouraged but not elated, with the outlook of its test boosted by Carlos Sainz's late lap to go 3rd fastest. The new car looks a definite step on from last year, with Ferrari seeing the anticipated gains from its upgraded engine, revised aerodynamics and new rear suspension. Both Charles Leclerc and Sainz completed solid race simulations on the final day, and with more power unit performance apparently unleashed late in the day, Sainz's single lap pace put Ferrari nominally at the upper end of the group behind the 2 Honda-powered teams. But we fear this might have slightly oversold the speed of the SF21, which appears to still be part of the midfield group behind Red Bull and Mercedes. At no point did the car look to have the sheer performance required to escape the midfield, and it was not the most convincing of that group either, hence this position in our list, at least for now. It was a frustrating few days for the newly badged team and its eye-catching AMR21. The car suffered a litany of niggling problems that seriously limited the much-needed run-in for Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll. An electrical glitch, a gearbox problem and a troublesome turbo at various points had the car sitting in the garage and the driver doing nothing. But Stroll showed in the limited window the team did have to push that the car has pace, and there's no reason yet to believe Aston won't be vying hard for best of the rest status throughout the year. We just haven't seen enough of it to put it there just yet. With the best lap time only half a second slower than the team's qualifying best in Bahrain last year, and a tendency to run Honda's higher engine modes at the end of testing, we can make the relatively assured assumption we've seen very close to AlphaTauri's best. Perhaps we've even seen better than its best, given it emerged Yuki Tsunoda was opening the DRS early on the main straight. So is the sister team really a tenth slower than Red Bull? Almost certainly not, but its performance, coupled with what looked like a neat package on track, bodes well for AlphaTauri. It looks like it's established itself firmly in the top half of the rest again. Exactly where Pierre Gasly and Tsunoda will be will depend on how much the other teams will hold him back, but AlphaTauri has ended testing in very good shape. McLaren's transition to Mercedes power was accomplished astonishingly smoothly. It was wary of taking on too much through testing and admitted to having a slightly conservative run plan given the complication of bedding in the new power unit. But this went very well. The new car ran reliably from the off, and what's more, it looks like a very compliant machine, one in which Daniel Ricciardo immediately pressed on hard with. McLaren basically had a test in which it looked effortlessly strong without having to dig into performance running to prove it. Right now, McLaren looks in a good position to try to repeat the third place finish in the Constructors' Championship it earned last year. Many will doubt Mercedes' claim it's slower than Red Bull heading to the season opener, but the world champion is a wounded giant. Friday's early gearbox problems sacrificed half a day's running early on, and while it was able to complete a good amount of its program over the rest of the test, performance didn't seem to be easily forthcoming. The car looked better on high fuel runs on the final day than earlier in the test when Lewis Hamilton spun into the gravel and Valtteri Bottas said the W12 was quite snappy and unforgiving. But Mercedes was still slower than Red Bull. On Sunday evening, Hamilton had another spin on soft tyres as well, and the team professed itself confused by the lack of pace on lower fuel. We know a lot of you will think this is all just a bluff and Mercedes will win the season opener again. Well, it might just do that, but there's a lot of work to be done to get there first. It's difficult to envisage how Red Bull's test could have gone better. Max Verstappen was quickest, the RB16B looked brilliantly responsive on the front and stable at the rear, and its all-new Honda engine proved reliable enough for Red Bull to tick off everything it needed to. Verstappen's feedback that the car was responding well to setup changes afforded a different kind of encouragement, all adding up to the team's best pre-season of this engine era. Meanwhile, Sergio Perez seems to have started life at the team solidly, even if he's talking with the sort of caution that suggests he might be short of full potential early on, given his limited preparation. We're not naive enough to think this makes Red Bull favourites for the title, or that Mercedes won't come out swinging when we head back to Bahrain for the season opener. But we can't look past Red Bull as having had the best pre-season, and therefore it looks in the best shape, at least for now. So that's our ranking of the 10 teams. Let us know yours in the comments below. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and if you're not already subscribed to the race, please click the button to change that, and join us again next time for another video.